So I wanted to pop in and chat with you because even though I'm semi out of office, in my mind, I am really actually in the office planning, thinking about 2024 ahead, really excited about a lot of the things that we have coming up. And this morning around 5:40 a.m., I got a text message from someone who I hadn't seen in a couple of years. And she's in our ecosystem of her power moves and my world of entrepreneurs down here in South Florida. And she's like, "Can we meet? Do you have time today?" So she came in, we've been connected on LinkedIn. We had a beautiful conversation. We doubled the time that we had allotted as we were just sitting here on the sofa, just sort of talking through what her next moves look like and what we have going on. And she had looked at some of our materials in the squad for book club, right? We got the Rich AF Book Club launching next Thursday, January 4th. And of course, we're speaking with Elizabeth Liba. Super excited to have this conversation. I've already started tabbing stuff up. So I'm actually reading this book in the words because I want to mark it up so we can ask her some really great questions when she joins us on the 13th. So you can check out all that information. But as the young lady and I were talking, it was interesting because the mail had come into my space. I have a co-working space here. The mail came in a little bit before she got here. So I had this pile of mail because today is the 26th. So, closed for Christmas. And it's basically, we haven't been in here since Friday. It's Tuesday. So a lot of mail to process. And she was like, "I saw you. You keep talking about this book, right? The Rich AF, the Amanda Francis book, and talking about the community. And I've been having different conversations with people about the concepts in the book and metaphysics. And I'm definitely not a metaphysician at all. And sort of what it looks like. And then pause. So we're sitting on the sofa talking about the mail. But what happened this morning was I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about vibrational vicinity. So hold that thought. Vibrational vicinity. So the young lady's sitting on the sofa and we're talking, and she's like, "So really, do you see results though from this book?" And it's not just results from reading the book, it's not results from just consuming anything. The results come from implementation. Right? So now what does that look like if it's a mindset scenario? What does that look like if it's about sort of vibrations and raising vibrations? I said, well, there's two pieces, right? There's a lot of journaling, and I did get the journal, and I had started working on it back in 2022 after we read the book. For myself personally, privately, right? So there's work to be done in terms of a lot of clearing of energy and a lot of things that I don't necessarily am not well versed in, but I'm learning as I go. And also, there's this piece where when you're doing sort of this universal work, there are things that start showing up in your life, right? And even if you're a person of faith, if you're Christian, you know that when you pray and then the thing you prayed for shows up or something gets cleared, you're like confirmation that the work I'm doing, the work, however that, if that's prayer, etc., whatever your part is in having this thing co-created and occur, that the work I'm doing, okay, yeah, it's a positive it's confirmation, a positive affirmation that the work you're doing, the time you're spending, the implementation that you're taking is showing up, right? So there's two pieces to this though when you're an entrepreneur. And there's one piece that's about like, okay, well, what does that look like in my bottom line? What does that look like top line? What does that look like for the revenue in my business in terms of predictability and the things that I'm creating to sort of level up and attracting the appropriate clients that are in alignment with what I want to achieve? But then there's magic quote unquote, I'm calling it magic, as and I like to say leave room for magic. But then there's the universal piece to that, right? And one of the things that Amanda talks about, she's like, she literally says, like, I don't know, people join the course and all of a sudden, like they get random checks. And you may have already seen that, right before I left for Europe a couple of weeks ago, right before Thanksgiving, I shared how this random check showed up for a 401c3 501. I'm mixing yeah, I'm mixing nonprofits with 401ks and coming up with a mess. 401k that I had back in 2015 that I didn't even know, didn't know that I had. I didn't contribute to it. My employer apparently contributed to it, even though I didn't, which is weird because usually there's a match. So this is the kind of stuff that happens, right? And so that check showed up and I did the YouTube video and showed that. And then I got a direct deposit. And those both happened right around the week of me announcing that, yes, we're going to have this year-long study group for the year of 2024, beginning in January 4th, right? And so it's like, that's interesting. So today we're sitting on the sofa, we're talking, and she's asking me, and I'm like, look, I can't necessarily explain it. We are going to go through it for this year. Things do change in my life. I know that I've increased my revenue in my business. And then there are just quote unquote random universal things that happen where money shows up. So she and I are talking. She's like, oh my gosh, you have so much mail. And I'm like, yeah, it's a blessing. We have over 200 people in the community who get their mail here, who are business people and entrepreneurs. She leaves and goes on her way. I start sorting the mail. Well, there was mail in there for me. Not one, but 2 checks. One check I expected to come, which I expected it to come in January. This check was not anticipated at all. Like literally, I cannot explain how this works, except for I heard earlier today on a podcast that they were talking about vibrational vicinity. And it's 2 ways that it was being talked about. It was being talked about in the context of looking at others' success or looking at others and minimizing ourselves. So in this particular context of how it came up, and then I'm going to talk to you about how we're going to apply it within the Rich AF study group, right? So the way that this was discussed, and this is the first time I've actually heard this term, you may already be familiar with it. It was something new to me. I did some research on it, came up with some stuff with Esther Hicks and all of that. But what the person was saying was that in this particular case, her client was in competition with an extremely well-known, Amy Porterfield is the woman's name. She's very well-known in the e-commerce space for growing your email list. And this other woman, not as well known as Amy Porterfield, was launching something with regard to a very similar type of product about launching your e-commerce list. And Amy was launching at the same time. Now, this woman could say, I'm scared, I'm small, and that's how she was starting to feel, right? I'm scared, I'm small, I'm trying to launch something that's very similar to someone who's a juggernaut, and we have overlapping clients, right, who are going to want to probably go with her. How should I handle this? And so her coach talked through sort of how she said, well, let's reframe that. What does that look like? And she actually told her audience, look, I'm actually nervous. I'm launching at the same time as Amy. You follow Amy as well. You might want to go to Amy's. I totally get it. And that people signed up for both. She had a successful launch, right? But the other reframe, and this can come up in the case of you make yourself small or you're worried that you're too small in comparison and competition with someone else. The other way that this can come up, and this is why I have personally taken a break from Instagram earlier this year, is that it seems like everyone around you somehow is miraculously uber successful and having 10K minutes and, crazy stuff like that. And that might be true for some of them. However, when you are sort of down in the weeds and putting in the work and you're maybe feeling challenged or facing certain struggles or challenges that when they're posting that stuff, one, a little dubious in some cases as to the veracity of what they're saying. The other piece of it, though, is that it can still weigh very heavily on your psyche and your heart. And you start to feel dejected and you start to feel like I'm doing all this work and I'm not seeing any results. Now, where vibrational vicinity works in that regard is to reframe it and say, well, if this is what's happening, if there's this success around this product, this offering, this idea, whatever it is that you're bringing to the fore, by being in proximity, by being in the vicinity and seeing this excess, this success happen, that I will be close enough to it to have some of that rub off on me. So to reframe feeling that comparisonitis and feeling that you are failing or not as successful, to reframe it and say, no, give me some of that juice. Like you're actually going to pull some of their vibration into your vicinity by being in vicinity. And when you think about it, while I've never heard that term, that's absolutely what we do at Her Power Moves. Like my entire motto is we all win. Where is it, right? You can see it right there, right? We all win. It's on the wall right there. This is my motto. This is how we have run Her Power Moves for the past almost a decade since I launched Her Power Hustle, the podcast, and started having pop-ups with women entrepreneurs around the country on an ad hoc basis. And here we are 9 years later almost, right? And so it's about vibrational vicinity. By being in proximity to people whose vibrations are lifting, are higher, are raising, right? And again, obviously, you don't want to get out of whack about this, right? Just being in the room with someone is not necessarily going to lead to every outcome that you want. So we're talking about vibrations, right? We're talking about being in certain energy. We're talking about the masterminds that I host and your accountability buddy, where I pair women into pairs and then we come together as a mastermind and they take care of each other in a one-on-one as well so that they can achieve their dreams. It's I've done podcasts about it and trainings about it. Your network is your net worth, right? All of these things are just different ways of saying vibrational proximity, being in community or near people who are successful or reaching for success raises your vibration just by proximity and vicinity. I don't want to get out of whack by saying that that's the only thing that happens. You still have to put in work. And if you're familiar, there's a preacher, Joyce Meyer, who I've followed for over 20 something years. And she used to always say, I could sit in a garage all day long. It's not going to make me a car, right? She was talking about it like sitting in church don't make you a Christian. It's action, it's belief, it's implementation, is doing the work, it's showing up, right? So again, random checks and work, putting in the work and getting the revenue, right? And so I am just wanting to come in and have that conversation with you to invite you to kind of rev up if you want some random checks in the mail, get some vicinity, some vibrational vicinity, and check out the vibes of being in our community of Her Power Moves book club. And I'm actually going to do another video tomorrow because I want to talk about the concept of me charging, right? $20 a month or 120, which would be a 50% off discount for the year for being in this study group. So me charging money for a community to make money, right? And change your mindset about money. And I really want to have an interesting conversation with you about that. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I also want to remind you that on January 13th, Saturday, and this is free, right? Book club. I have never charged for book club, right? I've been hosting book club. We've read over 6,700 pages, 10,000 minutes of books, relaunched in 2021. And have been hosting monthly, pretty much almost every month since September 2021. And I've never charged, right? I host it, it's on Zoom. We do the things, take the time, do the activities and emails and marketing to make sure that everybody knows what we have. We have an app and all of these things, right? I think that we'll talk about this tomorrow, but there's something to be said about ensuring that money flows properly, right? And that value is there. So I'm really looking forward to that conversation because you might have that issue too, where you're so heart-centered and you want to pour into people that you bring them together in vibrational vicinity, but you don't get the actual financial remuneration that you deserve and should receive, right? So I want to make sure that we're all, that's part of vibrating higher, right? Is knowing our worth, is charging our worth, and is ensuring that everybody is elevated when we're talking about money. So I am actually extremely excited about this year. And I know it's crazy, right? I have actually never committed to a year of hosting anything for anyone aside from in my business when people sign up for a year of mailing address services, right? So I am actually stretching myself. I'm raising my vibrations because I believe that I'm the right person to do this with you and for you. And so I'm looking forward to you joining us. You can click the links below if you want to learn more about the Rich AF Book Club, which is kicking off on Thursday, January 4th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Zoom. And the modules are actually already up for our first module one for chapter one. That's already up in Her Power Moves the Squad, links below. And then also you can sign up for book club. We're going to have the live author chat with Elizabeth Liba for her book, I'm Not Yelling, a Black Woman's Guide to Navigating the Workplace. So I'm really excited about what we have going on in 2024, raising our vibrations, taking care of us, making sure that we're good. Because the last thing I'm going to say is making sure that we got us, because we have the Blooms out here, Edward Bloom out here suing Fearless Fund and Hello Alice and going after a lot of the programming that is to provide the economic resources, right, for Black women to move forward in our businesses. So I look forward to seeing you around Her Power Moves the Squad. I look forward to launching into the Rich AF Book Club study group with you. And I look forward to seeing you at Elizabeth Liba's author chat, which will also be on Zoom on Saturday, January 13th, which is our regular day to meet for book club. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I'm Michelle at herpowermoves.com. I love to hear from you, and click the buttons below. I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to talk about, should a money course be free?